And what about 100 years?
Century.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of Century, I'm curious about your Rochester Century matchup in the 2015 state tournament.
Okay,
You
I
have,
was
you
like,
have any
there's a
thought?
couple memorable ones for me actually.
Do-up diddling ding dong day. Ooh, do-up diddling ding dong day. Do-up diddling
we
ding dong
we
day.
back. We have a Jake Trondson interview today. Absolutely electric. Well, it will be electric. I know it will be electric. Super pumped for it. We actually played one time, way back when, back in probably 2018, if my memory serves me well, or yeah, 2018. So we'll see if he remembers that. And yeah, he just got back from playing some professional tournaments out in Europe. I believe the UTR series. So we'll dig into that a little bit. And yeah, I wanna just learn about Jake's like path through tennis through his high school years and in college years. I remember always hearing about it, but you'd never like fully get like the full answer. So perfect opportunity. Ask the source, right? Ask the source. Anyways, we will resume when Jake comes in. Maybe David. Maybe David. Please, David. Come on, please, come. I think this is 3 episodes. Please, David, you make it so much better. Come on, please. But actually, though, we missed Dave. So hopefully he comes. Potentially will come. We will see. But stay tuned for Jake Trondson. We welcome Jake Trondson to Backyard Tennis. Jake, you were a Minnesota state champion for Mounds View. Your guys' team. You went to Hamline, lit it up there. You were an All-American for Hamline. I was it for your graduate senior year, or was it just your senior year that you went to down to the, I think, the Lobos?
Yeah, I played at University of New Mexico for it was technically senior year, and then I did another like a fifth year off of that, so I ended up playing there for 2 years. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah.
and then more recently have been playing some UTR pro tournaments in Europe,
Mhm.
and yeah, that's what I kind of want to talk about today, is just kind of like your history in tennis, kind of your upbringing, how you got into tennis, and then yeah, now into kind of like current day, what you've been doing in 2025, like super recently, and what your plans are in the future. But yeah, my first question to you is like, how'd you get into to the great sport of tennis?
That's a great question. I mean, it starts so long ago. Actually, it's a family thing. My dad played. He was actually my coach all the way, like through and through. My grandpa actually played. So it starts with my grandpa. He give all credit to him. Rest in peace. But yeah, he's from Rochester, Minnesota. Good old boy from Minnesota. Played at U University of Minnesota Mankato, and then passed the sport down to his kids. Uh, my dad played. My uncle played at Gustavus, and then I also had an aunt play at. She played at Denver University. So it's a big tennis family. And then obviously I played. I'm the oldest out of four, and then me and the rest of my siblings, we all played. Two others are in college right now. So it's a huge tennis family. It's just that's all we talk about. It's tennis all the time.
And I always talk about and hear other people talk about like when how early do you have to start to become like elite at the sport? You know, like is it like 5 years old to become like the Roger Federer or Rafa Nadal? When did you start your tennis journey? At what age did you start playing tennis?
Yeah, no, I feel like today, like every kid's got to start playing sports at like four. If they're not, they're never gonna meet. They're like, oh, you can't go to college now. It's like honestly, the world has changed so much. But I started like I think I played my first tennis tournament when I was like 10. So I like started like again, my dad played, so I was like around it, but I didn't really like start taking the sport serious until like 9, 10 years old, where like I was like truly like, playing more than once every couple months. So I would say about 9, 10, I was playing tournaments and stuff.
Yeah. And I was right around the same. I would say like maybe 1 or 2 years after that, maybe like 11, 12 for me.
Yeah.
Um, but so you start playing tennis. Is that kind of just recreational, or is that like you're getting like private lessons?
Yeah, so like with my dad being my coach, like he would all like so I would go hit in like the clinics or like the drills that we would have at our club. And I go do that a couple times a week. And then, I go out hit with my dad a little bit around that age. And then be like, oh, let's go, there's a tournament going on at the local club. Let's go play that. Um, but yeah, like that was really it. It was just more like always like playing around in the clinics and play with dad here and there. And then, if I wanted to play a tournament, and then, obviously it gets more serious, but that's kind of how I just started with it.
Yeah. And you eventually went to Moundsville High School,
Mhm.
and what's the mascot of Moundsville?
Mustangs.
The Mustangs.
Let's go
Um,
Mustangs.
yeah, let's go Mustangs. But so did you get your first taste of varsity tennis when you were in middle school? Did you have like a feeder into Mustang territory, or did you not start your kind of varsity career until ninth grade?
Yeah, so like Minnesota is such a weird state. Like everywhere you go in the US, it's like you play high school tennis when you're in high school. But Minnesota, a lot of schools allow like you to play varsity when you're in seventh and eighth grade. So like that was a big decision for me because I was a baseball player. Like it wasn't my first, like baseball was like my first like love of sport. But the thing is, baseball tennis, same high school season. So when I was going in the seventh grade, I was like, I could play varsity tennis or I could, mess around with tennis, play baseball on the side as well, but, not really commit to either. And I was like, like let's go for it. Let's try this 1 year without playing baseball. Ended up making varsity that seventh grade year. Kind of just snuck onto the team. We had some decent guys on the team, but snuck onto it, and then from there I just didn't look back. Sometimes, you regret it. You're like, ah, I really like that sport, but honestly, to this day, it was the right decision. You just miss baseball or other sports sometimes.
Yeah. And I feel like you remember, specific things about the sport. And objectively speaking, like baseball has some really cool things, like just like chilling in the dugout, like
Oh,
spitting seeds. Like that's
exactly.
pretty cool. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. And being able to bat 3 times out of 10 and that have that be like elite is like pretty cool. Like that's
You
a
feel
cool thing.
amazing.
Yeah. um, um, but and also to that point, it you have this decision at seventh, eighth grade where you can choose baseball or tennis, and it's such is a small decision at that point, like, or maybe it is a big decision, like what sport to choose, but it's so impactful. I mean, looking at kind of that where that took you, that's one. Maybe it's a 30-minute decision where you're thinking about it, your seventh
Yeah.
grade year, and it has such an impact. But anyways, you get to be on the varsity squad, early in your career. When did you first start playing one singles?
Uh, it's a good question. Yeah, with varsity, like Mounds U, like in Minnesota, we always had like good teams. Like I remember my or seventh grade year, we hit one in the state at one point. We were like going in the state number one ranked. We ended up getting upsetted, but we had like great players. Eighth and ninth grade year, wasn't I think I started playing one my junior year actually. It took a little bit. Like I got hurt like my freshman year. Some of the guys that like I played on the team with will remember I had like Osgood Slaughters, could not run. Like they would give me like so much crap. I would be like the slowest guy out there. But then uh kind of sophomore year came back. I started playing a lot more and getting back into it. So by junior year I was playing one singles, and that was the year we actually won state. So not saying it was because I was at one, but uh yeah, we had a really strong team that year.
Yeah, and that was the 2015 year, right? That you guys
Yeah.
won state. Um, and hopefully I'm not ruffling any feathers, but so I came up with like a little activity, um,
Okay.
and so how many like many seconds are there in a minute?
There's 60 seconds in a minute.
So 60 seconds in a minute. How many minutes are there in an hour?
There's 60 minutes in an hour.
Yep. And then how many hours in one day?
24 hours in a day.
So and then we got how many days in a year?
365 on a typical year.
Yep. In 1/4, whatever. Yep. Like I'm
Yeah.
not technicality. So we got 1 year, right? How many years are if you have 10 years, what is that in terms of like a period, I guess?
Like how many days or like
So
like a decade, like a
yeah,
decade.
yep.
Okay.
And what about 100 years?
Century.
Yeah. So I mean, speaking of century, I'm curious about your Rochester Century matchup in the 2015 state tournament.
Okay.
Do you
I
have,
was
do you
like,
have any
there's a couple memorable ones for me actually. But yeah, that one.
do you have any
That's a good one to bring back. Yeah.
do you have any memories of that match? Am I stepping on any toes there?
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like it's funny you bring up that one because I feel like there's, if you look at individuals, there's like there's one that's like way more like outstanding, not because like, it played against Rochester Century, like Jessie Aney, she was playing number one. So that was like, was she the first? I don't know if you remember this, but I don't know if she was the first girl to play boys tennis in Minnesota, but it was her or Ingrid. I can't remember who played first.
It was
Um,
Ingrid.
it was Ingrid, right? Yeah. But then Jessie played as well, and so I ended up playing her at one singles. That was, oh, was that first? No, that was semis. That was the semis of state. Um, yeah. Okay, this is a great story because I was up 5-1 in the first set on her.
Really? What
Want to know what the
so
final score was?
I mean, I felt like when I was searching Jake Trondson before this interview, I was finding every single thing, and that was one of the things. I don't know if like that was like the right way for me to bring that up, but like I was like, hey, I could have play this, bring this up in a playful manner. Um, um, but yeah, no, I saw it. I think it was 7-5, 6-0. No,
Yeah, I lost 12 straight games.
yeah, that.
I was
So
up 5-1, and I
was it like mentally? Was it something about like girl versus boy? Was it something like that where it was like mentally challenging in that spot, or was it just like, yo, this person's just playing really well? I'm nervous. Like, what was it?
yeah, no, I mean, I felt like going into the match, like, yeah, I'm definitely nervous because I'm playing a girl. Yeah, I feel like this match started, she was just making errors, kind of like I think she was also nervous as well because like she knew who I was. I don't think I've always been known as like a streaky player, so you don't know what you're gonna get from me. And so like I feel like she was kind of like giving me airs. She felt like she had to play much better. Then she just kind of like started making balls. And I think I just like completely like crapped the bed. Like, yeah, she played better, but at the same time, like I think the nerves kind of hit me at some point, and then I started kind of panicking and be like, oh, I gotta do this, gotta do that. Where yeah. I mean, if you're losing 12 straight games, like you're getting worked. So that was a tough one. You really took that one. I had to take that one on the chin for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess I didn't know the backstory on it, but in to defend too, it's like I'm just making fun of it just because like how often do you have in boys Minnesota State high school tennis tournament are you playing a girl? Like what a crazy,
Yeah.
situation. Whether you're for it or against it, that's not really the question. But Jessie's a really good player. I mean, she's
hmm
playing pro right now. She's unreal. She's so good. And
She's a
her
great doubles
style is
player right now. Yeah.
super good, super talented. Great loopy balls. I played her in a winter classic. Her and Ingrid, I think back to back, 2 L's in a row. They just cleaned me up. But yeah, super good player. But yeah, you don't. It's not every day that you get to play,
No,
a top female
no,
in boys state. Like so.
never.
I had to reflect on that. So.
No, it was like a crazy like experience. Like, I mean, again, she was really good. So that's where the pressure was. And like it's like this. Like I feel like she plays, more spin and stuff, but still, it's just different. Like when you see a guy across the net versus when you see a girl, it's just, like something psychologically, like kind of like come like flips in your mind, and you're like, you start thinking about the possibilities of whether you win or lose and what could have
Right.
come about, and versus just, oh, it's another match. So yeah, no, it was an experience. I mean, it's a great learning experience, but yeah, it was an experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's like a variable that you can't really prepare for, which is like a disadvantage. In yeah, I didn't really think about it from that way ever before. Because like you would are like she, would have played dudes all year long, so she would be used to it.
No,
But every single dude that she plays
it's
would be
true.
like, "Yo, what?" Like
Yeah.
like this
Yeah. I'm not putting a
unreal,
wig on my teammates to practice against it.
this
But yeah.
unreal girl is just like, and she was unreal. She was top
That's
five.
just
I think she's number six or something. But yeah, no, and we talked with her brother Nick, and because he he's an All-American or was an
hmm
All-American at Gustavus, but yeah, good family. I yeah, and nothing against the Andes,
no,
but yeah,
nothing against them. Great family. I have respect for them. It's just
yeah,
again, it's a good story in my opinion. So
yeah. So and that was, you said, your junior year.
yeah.
So junior year, you know go and win the state title. Did was it just unreal, like winning a state championship? With the group of guys that you were with.
Yeah. No, I mean it was like for so many years, like again, Mounds U had good teams. There was a 1 or 2 year period where we didn't make state. But like we're always like actually the year prior we are also number one in state. We lose first round, got another upset. So I've been a part of a couple teams where we just felt like we're underachieving. And like the by the time we won state, um, it was just a great feeling. I contributed zero. I played one singles, lost all three of my matches. I was just there. I was a part of the ride. But no, it was such a I mean, it was a great experience. Like I remember still like it was Petro Alex, another Moundsy boy. Played played at North Dakota. He clinched for us at 4. And it was just a great feeling. I mean, like it's something you look back on. Like it's just like, hey, like we did it. Like you have that on the record. You can always, tell some good tennis players that never won it, like, hey, like at least I got that over you. So it was a great experience.
Yeah, and Petro actually was the I asked Petro, I'm like, hey, you want to do an interview? Just because we've talked with him before, and he's like,
Mhm.
no, you should interview Jake Trondson,
Is he
just
the
because
one who? Okay.
yeah. So he's like, you got it. I'm like, okay, like I will, like, and yeah, it's a perfect excuse to to talk to someone, because I'm not always in on the know of all things tennis, but by by me just asking like, hey, who should I interview, and then someone's like, interview this person, like they're doing something
Yeah.
cool. But back to the timeline, so you win a state title junior year. What so did you graduate some seniors? What happened senior year?
Senior year. Uh, we lost a couple guys. Yeah, we had a few seniors leave. We also had like Hunter Hack was on our team that junior year. He ended up moving down to Florida to go train at an academy. He was a big piece to our team. I mean, he's done well outside of high school as well and
Yeah,
in college and the pros. But yeah, we lost a couple guys, but I felt like we reloaded pretty well. Like we always had guys coming up from JV or like new seventh graders and eighth graders that always could play. Um, and we still had a strong team that year. Like we had the potential to win state, but yeah, I mean, it felt like that year it was more like junior year I could kind of not coast, but it'd be like, hey, if Jake wins, this is great. If he loses, it's not. Where senior year, I had to like really step up, and when I won, it was a huge help for the team. When I lost, like we're not really winning a lot of those matches, so it was just more like my role became a lot bigger that senior year.
Yeah, that makes sense. And let me get this straight. So Hunter Heck, Jake Trondson, Petro Alex,
Hmm.
and Petro or yeah, he has some brothers. So what about his brothers? Were they on the team? Did they play varsity?
Yeah, so they came after me. So once I graduated, Petro's little brother Cristo, who's now at North Dakota,
Hmm.
he came
Yep.
in. Then you have Bjorn Swenson also came in that next year.
No
Bjorn
way.
Bjorn was at Michigan. Then you also had my little brother came in like 2 years later, who's now at Oklahoma. And also like bear in mind when I was a seventh grader, we had Wyatt McCoy who played at Notre Dame. Um, and then also the like you remember Hunter Kreisbach from St.
Yep.
John's, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Hunter was on the team my junior year. Um, we had a couple like Abe Alex, Carter Jones, who were like all like guys that they're all good players, like that were like huge for the team. So, yeah, just just a lot of talent, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's and I was getting in obviously your teammates better than I. But what I was getting at was you guys were stacked. Holy moly! Yeah, you guys had some really good players, um, which is cool to be around because that raises the level. When you're around really good players, like everyone challenges each other, and that's why you continue to be good. Um, why do you think Mounds View was successful for many years? Like you said, why it was
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8 years, but before you, and then they continued on, past your time there.
I'm gonna honestly give a lot of credit to Wyatt's dad, Brian McCoy. He's been a pro out in the like that area for the longest time. Like so funny enough, Brian was like in his early 20s when my dad was in high school, and my dad played at Mountain View. So, and like that's when my dad was on the team with other guys who all like they were losing in the finals of state, or like other guys who were like some guys played Division 1 after high school. Like it's just been it's for the last like 30 years. Like there's just been players that have come out of that area, and a lot of it has to do with Brian and just I'm not. It's just having the opportunity to go play tennis. Honestly, like there's good players. The women's side also was good too. Like we had great girls teams like that played Division 1 as well, and I just feel like we all just play tennis. Like everyone has the opportunity to keep playing. There was just the opportunity was just to play, and Brian, kind of helped manage all that. So Brian did a really good job with all that stuff.
And just to kind of dig in a little bit deeper, so he's like putting on like different camps, clinics, stuff like that, like more organized tennis for you guys to do. That's what he kind of
Yeah,
did.
yeah, it was just he was like a head pro over at like Moore Lake Freely Lifetime, and he had been there for years, and he just really like whether it was the group drills, like really open it up for the players, get a lot of people in, was it whether running tournaments or just allowing the kids to just go jump on a court sometimes and not get in
Right.
trouble for jumping on an indoor court when, like people are like freaking out at you for not paying. But no, Brian just literally, it's just, he just loves tennis and he wants to get back, and just allowing kids to get on court. That's the number one thing that he does so well.
Yeah, that would be the dream, I think, is having a potential facility where you can more or less, and it would be very difficult to do this, but it is possible to do this, to essentially socialize in a way like high school tennis, where you allow hopefully your facility to just be unlimited growth depending on how big your group is, and just fund it like it's
Hmm.
free. Like these kids can, and maybe you make it like $100 or you make it super cheap, or just so there's some sort of an investment, but make it super accessible, because that's what the sport needs, is just accessibility. And then like you have to just like be in front of these young kids when they're you know 10 years old, 12 years old, and they're like, hey, choose tennis. Like that's what you need to do. And if you don't have something full year round that's like helping that, fostering that, well, it's going to die out during the winter months.
Exactly.
And then at that point it's just your parents. It's they're
Exactly.
forcing the thing.
Yeah.
And but yeah, but back to the timeline. So you then attend Hamline University. Um what made you choose there?
So we missed a little bit of the timeline. So when
Okay,
I
my
graduated
apologies.
from Mounds View, I went
Okay.
to a JUCO called Tyler Junior College. It's in Tyler, Texas. It was the first school I went to. I went there for a semester. Uh, they're like for a JUCO, they were number one in the country. Like I'm telling you, like it was a Division 1 environment. It was just in the middle of nowhere, and it's not a Division 1 school. But like I had a guy. There was a guy on my team. He was like top 30 in the world junior, and then he went to Oklahoma after and became like an All-American for Division 1. Like so, the level was high. But I lasted a semester there. Great school was tough for me. At a junior college, it was just too much for me. And so I ended up like coming back home, took like a semester off from school, then did another semester to get myself like academically eligible. So I didn't play tennis. So for 2 semesters, didn't play tennis. And then I ended up going to Hamlin. And a big reason why I chose that was I was looking around the MIAC. I was like trying to, get back onto a team that I felt like could really help develop my game, give me opportunity to like play, and that was like really there for me. So honestly, the 2 schools I was like deciding between at the time was Hamlin and Bethel because I'm like from that area. Bethel was a good option as well. Um, and I ended up choosing Hamlin because of the coaching staff that was there at the time. Um, yeah, it was Julia Quarter and Scott Quarter. Like they really kind of took me under their wing, and I felt like they taught me a lot of different things, whether it was tennis or outside of tennis. Like they really just kind of helped me like grow as a tennis player. Like that was huge, but also I think I started to kind of figure out who I was and like, really kind of like dive into like my personality and stuff. Like I didn't, like I think that was like a big reason why I chose Hamlin. It wasn't known as a big tennis school,
Mhm.
but because of them, I was like, you know what, I'll take a risk on this and see how this pays off. And it was a really good time, honestly.
Yeah. And my apologies for not knowing your JUCO experience, but yeah, I mean, in I remember obviously you entering the MIAC is you're entering essentially like an overlap of my world at that time
Yeah,
where
exactly.
of course like anyone who I'm going to play in the MIAC is going to be out there. Um, so yeah, we ended up playing one time.
Hmm.
Was I think that was that my senior year? Do you remember what
Yeah.
year that was for you? We had a pretty tight match. I think it was a three
Yeah, and
setter.
I lost. You beat me. 10-pointer. Um,
10.
what year would that happen for me? I think it would have technically been my sophomore year. So it was your
And
senior year, yeah.
I had definitely had the advantage. Well, I shouldn't say I had the advantage, but being at Courts Plus and when you kind of know a specific surface and you've played at a specific surface a lot, and especially that like kind of like a weird vibe where whether you're in like a bubble or like Gustavus, for example, like you just
Hmm.
going and playing at Gustavus for the first time, like the perception is kind of like weird. Like it's like it's different. In
Right.
basketball, when we played at the Rochester Civic Center, the stadium's bigger. There's no like backdrop right in back of the basket.
Right.
That's the first time you play against that. It's like the
Yeah,
I don't know, the perception, at least for me, is different.
no, I completely agree. Like,
Yeah,
especially in like basketball, you're like the arc of the ball seems like different than it normally does. And honestly, court spots, yeah, because of the 2 court setup. And even like when we played doubles, you played in the back for doubles, and then singles was on like the front too. The thing is, I've played there before, but like it was also like I know what you mean. It's just takes a bit to adjust to it. Whereas if you show up there every day, it's no big deal.
yeah. And Um, I think I feel like I could say this, but maybe feather in the cap. Maybe that is the best win I've ever had. I feel like that I have to say that I think you have to objectively from an objective perspective. So,
Hey,
and you,
it's a compliment.
yeah, no, and that's how I intend it to be. Um, but in in one thing that I didn't know until digging in a little bit was, um, you were an All American at Hamlin, and you beat that kid from Carleton who was super, super, super good, that Leo.
Yeah, Leah.
And then you got to go on to the national tournament. How was your process there with winning the regional, which is so hard to do? Like, take me through that experience and then get into the nationals.
Okay, yeah. Honestly, it's kind of a little bit of a journey because I lost to you. That was like the end of the spring. That was like one of my last matches I played. Um, and then going into the summer, I'm like, okay, like we got to put in a lot of work. My goal was always to like win regionals, but I'm like, okay, like based on my results in the MIAC, it was all right. Like I wasn't the worst guy in the MIAC, but also I'm like I had like 3 losses or something or 4 losses in the MIAC that year. I'm like, we can do better. So went into like going into the summer, played a few like tournaments. There's like they used to have those like ITA tournaments. Played one at baseline and honestly, out of nowhere, I just kind of like really started to like feel my game and like I felt like I was moving really well. I beat a couple like Division 1 guys. Like I beat Sebastian Vile, who was about to go to the Gophers. I don't think he was there yet, and then I played Jackson Allen. I beat Jackson the next match. And then I played a guy from Drake who was like 1 or 2, kind of coming back from injury, I think, but he was playing 1 or 2 for them. So really good player. And like at this moment, like we're going into that match, I was just feeling it. I win the first set 6-0, and then mentally just kind of like checked out from there. But it was really good. And then kind of using that tournament for the rest of the summer, had started having more consistent results at a high level. I was really happy with it. And then going into regionals, I was like kind of looking at him like, this is a legit possibility. Like, a lot of things have to go right, but it's a possibility. And honestly, I still remember it because regionals is like a 4 or 5 day event. I just remember that event like so well because it's like mentally, like I think that's the peak I've ever been in a mental state where it was just like every day was just like match by match. I just took care of it. Um, and it ended up it, like won a couple matches and then I got to like the semis. I had to play a guy named Patrick Whaling from Gustavus.
Yep.
And that was like the first one where I'm having a little bit of trouble with. He was up like 4-1. And then next thing you know, he kind of like gives me something back and then kind of went on a roll and I won like 6-4, 6-2, something like that. And then I played Leo in the finals. And that was a tight match. We ended up going indoors because the whole match or tournament was outdoors and go indoors and um that was I was nervous, but also like super excited at the same time. Like it was like, I was really like trusting myself. Felt like the game plan was like there. Felt like mentally like I was just gonna battle my way through it. Um, and it was a tight match. I won like 4 and 6, I think, but like I was really happy with that moment. That's definitely like one of my like favorite memories because it was like kind of like when everything needed to kind of like work in the right way to get it done, it did. And I've just felt like because of how much work I put in and like doing the right things kind of led me to that situation. So that was an unbelievable time. And then going to nationals, I think it was like the next week. It was like such a rush. Like oh, I'm going. It was down in Rome, Georgia. I don't know if you've ever been down there, but the facility. Oh my gosh, Rome, Georgia. Especially if you're like from up north, you never heard of it but it's like outside Atlanta, and they have 2 different like tennis facilities. They have like 60 courts. It's insane. But you go down there, you play like the Masters event where you play all the D3 guys, but then they have D2, D or JUCO and NAIA guys down there who all won their regionals. And it's a fun event, like really good players. And I ended up playing first round against gosh, a guy from Emory. Wait, yeah, guy from Emory. Going into it, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do really well," and then I just felt like because I had, like, so much, like, built up expectations in my head, like, I should be playing this certain way, that I ended up, like, kinda, like, getting broken early, and I think I just lost my head, and it was like so that whole, like, tournament for me, like, I lost that first match. I think that guy ended up going to the finals or winning it, I don't remember. Then they do a consolation draw, played a guy from, WashU, another good player. And again, it was kinda like the same thing where I'm like, "Oh, I should be doing better." I l don't play another it was another, like, not great match. Um, I just again, I'm just building expectations up, and then I end up ending the tournament against like another guy, won that match, and I was happy to end on a positive note. But just like I definitely think because I was like, oh, I did all this in the past, I think I just kind of overplayed the whole like nationals thing rather than just just enjoying the moment and being there. I was kind of like I gotta go be the best, but it happens. Sometimes it like again everything flows, and sometimes it's just like you're just trying too hard. So yeah, it was a good experiences.
And it's easier said than done. I mean, looking back on it, like I mean, like the adage says, like hindsight's 20/20.
Mhm.
Like looking back on it, yeah, you can say, um, could have or potentially been in the moment a little bit more, but like going down to nationals where you're flying down somewhere, I'm assuming, and
Yeah.
new place, you're describing the facility as 60 courts, so slightly intimidating. It's like playing at the
Yeah.
USDA National Center. It's like you
Mhm.
walk through hundreds of yards of courts, like, and then you go play. Like it's a little bit different. Like the vibe is a little bit
Yeah,
different.
exactly.
Um, so, and then you're playing someone who's elite, like at the sport,
Hmm.
another person. And I would say that Northern is probably one of the weaker divisions of the national, just because of our geography. Um, but you're playing unreal players and who potentially play at these type of facilities when maybe in
Exactly.
Minnesota you don't. Do you think you had any disadvantage or I guess like thought because of like facilities wise and stuff like maybe you had a disadvantage?
I think what really it wasn't necessarily the facility. Like I saw it and it was like this is like such a cool facility. Like just how many courts they have is incredible. But I felt like what the biggest thing that kind of like put me at a disadvantage was, um, to be honest, like I kind of built this up in my head, but I was from Hamlin. Like no one in the national scene has ever seen someone from Hamlin make it that far. And I'm not saying that to like gloat. It was just more like they used to write like D3 articles, and I just remember like, I won it, and I was like so pumped. I'm like, and I start seeing articles written like with talking about me and talking about my match against Leo, and they're like, Hamlin, we've never heard of this. They're like, we know Gustavus because Gustavus is just like a powerhouse. And they'll hear of like a couple other guys from other schools in the area because like, there's the Mayak has good tennis, but like Hamlin was like, what they would always be like Hamline, like everyone would call it the wrong name, and so I felt like kind of going into it and seeing like an Emory who is consistently top five, a Wash U who is always top 10, and like just like all these other schools that were, it's like oh this is the expectation to be here versus like whoa like like kind of a small town boy meets the big city kind of thing, but
Mm-hmm.
um. No, I feel like that was like the only thing that was kind of in my head going
Yeah.
into the event.
And did you find any challenge with being the number one guy at Hamlin with like finding like um and maybe I'm relating this to my experience, but when you play one at your school, like I mean, you should hopefully be the number one player, like the better player of your school. So sometimes there's like a little bit of a level difference. Tennis, sometimes there's only like a couple guys who can really challenge you. I remember,
Right.
your team and stuff like that. Like, how many of those guys, like, are putting like really, really a tough challenge during practice? Like, how are you getting better during the year? Is more
Yeah.
what I'm asking.
Yeah. No, like honestly, credit to my teammates. Like I feel like I really enjoyed them, and like I would practice with them, and I wouldn't. My goal was like try not to complain, but I felt like towards the end it started to kind of chip away at me a little bit. Like oh, like because I had thoughts about, like, playing Division I after, and so I was like, "Oh," like, seeing, like because we would practice at the University of Minnesota, see, like, the Gophers practice, like, thinking in my head, like, "I wish I was them," and I'm, like, hitting with, like, some other guys on my team, and I'm like, I get a little bit irked, but I think what really helped me, like, actually develop was, um Actually, when I started working with like Scott and Julia, like we had this whole like summer group of like juniors. The thing is, the juniors that we had were between the ages of 10 and 12. Like my little brother was one of them, and I'd practice with these kids like all the time. And then like the next year, I got a couple like college girls like they hit with. So that would help like, just increase the level. But like I think it was just like what really helped me was um going down a couple levels, really refining like things. Like that was the biggest thing. Like, obviously, the better the player, it's tougher to play with them, but sometimes you don't work on the small details. And I think that was like a big thing. It really allowed me to kind of mold my or like mold into my game, I guess. Um and I just used that and like I got in better shape, like I trained a lot harder because like, I just kind of I busted my butt. I also feel like I gave my teammates a bit of grief at sometimes. I would get a little pissy at practice, but um, no, for the most part, I felt like just tried to make the most of what I had, and
Mhm.
it's not easy. Like again, you always want to hit with a better player, but sometimes it's just not possible.
Yeah, and I just totally get the challenge there, and um, yeah, sometimes you just got to weigh the positives and negatives, and sometimes there's positives about the situation. And being the number one guy, there are positives like being able to represent your school at the number one level. Even in a division like the MIAC. Um, I mean, I don't know. There's something about that. I think that it's kind of cool. Like you get to be the number one spot in the school and represent your school. At essentially the highest level, and you coming in there and doing that. Essentially to the best possible level. The first time someone from Hamlin got All American status, which is because you made the national tournament. Um, and yeah, that's cool. That's cool that you didn't just like I want and it would have been cool too to go D1, of course, like that's always the goal, and you did. Um, but like it's cool that you went to a D3 school too, is like that it's just a different
Mhm.
experience and a different type of vibe. But um in your last year, did you kind of know that you wanted to go to New Mexico or
Yeah, so
University of New
like,
Mexico?
yeah, I in my last year, I was like, it was the thought was in my head. I didn't really know what I was actually gonna do. I mean, part of me was like, I'm gonna just stick it out at Hamlin, and this is where I'm gonna play, graduate from. That was partially in my head. But then at the same time, I was like, I have this itch, but I don't know, just going back to like again, I think kind of all worked out with like playing at Hamlin. Like I don't regret that at all. I look back and I'm like, honestly, I needed the whole Hamlin thing. Like it's cool to look back and be like, yeah, I played one there. I did this and did that. And honestly, like the level was good too. Like I played like so many good players that won that first year. Like again, I had a winning percentage, but barely. Like I had so many good guys to play against. And but yeah, going into like that last year, like really, I think I lost twice. I lost to Gustavus's one, and then Leo at Carleton. I lost to him. Um, but even then, I was like, I didn't know if I like had the opportunity to go still play, but I'm like, if I can, I'll take it. And then, kind of as the year like finished up, my coaches were leaving, like decided to move on from Hamlin, and so kind of when that was happening, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready, like, to kinda see what's out there for me and kinda, early days of the transfer portal, test it out, see what was out there, so,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my decision.
And you were there for just 1 year, correct?
New Mexico? Actually, I
Yeah.
played so I did 4 semesters because I transferred technically, I thought I was a junior, but it was my senior year, so I played, but then COVID hit, and then I came back for that last year, played it. Actually, like I was like applying for another year. It was a weird situation where it was during COVID, so like the rules were like interesting where I applied to get it like another year back, like the year that I missed when I was like JUCO and out of school. Um, and I got the year back, but then the conference like reviewed the case after giving me the year back, and then they took it away. They were like, "We need more evidence," and so I didn't like pursue it. But yeah, I ended up playing 2 years at New Mexico. Um, yeah, and I finished up there with my degree.
Okay. My sister had a similar experience where like she tore her ACL playing intramural basketball in college, and yeah,
Nice.
devastating.
Jeez.
But it was during the golf season. I think she had played like maybe like 5, 10 matches or something like that.
Yeah,
Her senior year. So she applied for a red shirt, got it, and then next year like was planning to come back, and then like someone, I don't know if someone complained or somehow it got re-brought up, and they like
yeah,
looked into it and like, no, we don't grant you your red shirt or something. So it's like she couldn't play that last year of golf, even though she
that's
was
tough.
expected to do it. But
Right.
I don't know, that kind of like you're like the I mean the COVID journey kind of was like that created
Oh
just a
yeah.
lot of like chaos with collegiate athletes. But
And
how
now
was
you
your
look at the situation and it's like, if you want another year, you can just have it, like it honestly, don't even get me started on that because guys are getting fifth years for just no reason. Like, oh, you play junior college, you get another year. Just here you go. I'm like, come on, like what is this? But anyway,
yeah.
that's
How,
my little soapbox there.
yeah, and how was your experience at University of New Mexico? Like, were you guys pretty good?
Yeah, no, I loved it. I mean, again, like it was everything I was kind of looking for when I was like transferring. It's out there. I mean, Albuquerque is it's definitely in a different part of the US that, you don't really travel too much. You don't hear much about it. But I love the school. I love the team. The coaches were great. Our team was pretty good. Uh, we didn't get ranked super high, but we had good team. Like we had a good team. Like um we lost so many like tough matches against like Power Five schools. Like one of the years we played Michigan State. This is before they got really good, but we played Michigan State. We beat them 4-0. We beat Drake 4-1. Like we would beat like some of these like teams that were good, but then we would play like a team that's like 40 in the country, lose like 4-3. Um, and then my last year I was at New Mexico, we won our conference. We played the Mountain West Conference, so we made NCAA's my last year. Um, and I thought we had like such a solid squad. Like, the guys on our team. Like, I thought we had a good team. It was a really good experience there. Loved it.
Yeah. And maybe, and I have to ask this because everyone's going to want to know, but what were the main differences that you saw, or your takeaways in D3 tennis and D1 tennis?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. I feel like so many people are always wondering, like, what differences do you see in level to level to level? Like, honestly, the biggest thing that really took me a long time to get was just the day in, the day out stuff when it comes to Division One, the D3. Like, again, I took it serious when I was at Hamlin, like, but it wasn't like it was like I would like have practices where if I was mentally off in the practice, like getting angry or just like, not all there, I could get away with that. Like not
Mhm.
just because of level, it's just like the mentality of the team and the coaches and just the whole situation was different. Once I went to New Mexico, it was like, if I had a practice where I was like getting on myself, like verbally, or like I'm like, getting like all like moaning or something, I was just, getting upset. The coaches would be on me like that. Like I would have meetings about it, like, and I'm not saying like the intimidate you is just like, there's just a higher standard of the expectations. I will say this, like, there's so many guys that play Division 3 tennis that are good players, but it's just again like the environments are just completely different. Like, it's
Mhm.
not necessarily like, oh my gosh, like every Division 1 tennis player is unbelievable at tennis. No, but
Mhm.
they do things at a level where, there's a lot, the expectations are just higher of like,
Mhm.
from what they're supposed to do on a daily basis. And I felt like that was the biggest difference.
Yeah, the consistency. I mean, consistency and in level of consistency. It's not just consistency at a low level. It's you're you're at
Yeah.
a high level with that consistency. And it I mean, that's good to be around too. I mean, especially tennis where it's repetition, it's ball striking,
Mhm.
it's doing the same thing over a lot of times, and that's mentally taxing. So there's the mental side of the sport. It's just a very complex sport. Um, so you play at New Mexico or University of New Mexico, and you you decide to go pro after. Kind of what was your next step in your career there?
Yeah, so finished up there, and I kind of decided at the time. I actually was like done. I didn't want to play anymore. So right after graduation, I came like my family moved down to Nashville while I was in college. So moved away from Minnesota. So I went back home to Nashville, and I have a little brother who is a player. And I started playing with him again, kind of like I'm going to help him out. He wanted to be a good Division 1 tennis player, and so I came back home to help him out, train with him. And while I was in the process of that, I was also doing some Division 1 coaching for a school here in Nashville called Lipscomb. And I don't know, I just kind of had an itch still to go play. So I was like, after about like 6, 7 months, I'm like, you know what? Like, let's go try to play pro. I ended up moving. So it gets a little bit complicated here, but I ended up starting to play a couple pro events, and then I moved to Dallas from Nashville because I was going to use it as like a training base, a place to like coach and train, make money, and then get better at tennis. And I had friends there. I heard a lot about the club itself, and it was like this whole situation. And I was like, oh, I was really pumped to go do that, kind of, go travel and go like practice and stuff. I got to Dallas. I was there for about 9 months. And I got burnt out, like because I ended up like really working a lot on my game. Um, and I wasn't playing as many tournaments, or I was playing like lower tournaments, wasn't playing like professional tournaments. And I was like coaching, and I just got like burnt out from the situation. And I was started looking at the other career paths. So I actually ended up, after being there for 9 months, played a couple pro tournaments, but not much. And I ended up like quitting again, and I was going to go into accounting, which is my degree. Um, Moved back to Nashville after that, and kind of like some relationship stuff happened where I ended up like having an opportunity to like I ended up having an opportunity to kind of stay in the tennis world. So I was like looking at jobs in accounting, didn't see anything that really I felt like spoke to me, like felt like it fit. I was like, you know what, like, let's go coach on the side, make some money. So I kind of stayed in the tennis world, and some stuff happened in my life where like the opportunity came up again, then maybe I can actually pursue this. Um, and I played like one money tournament, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. Like, I love this stuff so much. So I ended up like starting to play again, and then about a year ago, like, yeah, I think a year ago now, I started playing like professional tournaments, like super consistently, and playing on a pro schedule. So it took a few years to kind of get here. Hence why I'm going after it now. But at the same time, like, it's kind of like every situation is just like sometimes maybe you just weren't ready to go do it. Like, I don't think I was ready at 23 to go play pro tennis. But now that I'm
Mhm.
25, 26, 27, I'm like, like I can handle things on a better level when it comes to the wins and losses and just travel, just dealing with myself. I can handle it better. And I think it's just kind of the way it works out.
Mhm. And when people think of pro tennis, they could think of a variety of things. And to explain a little bit more, because I don't really know actually. So you have the ATP, you have the
Mhm.
ITF, and I believe the league that you played in, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you played in a variety of different things, is like UTR. Did you play in like a UTR league? Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
what did you play in all three of those? Like, what are the differences in your professional tennis, your experience?
Yeah, so the ATP and the ITF work together. So like on the men's side, like the ATP, that's just for the men's game only. So like the ATP, that's like what you see a lot, like the Indian Wells tournaments, the Miami, the big like Masters tournaments or like whatever like you see. Those are the ATP events. That's for the top guys in the world. Then you go down a level to the Challenger Tour. So that's smaller events. So like but they're still like extremely high level tournaments. I'm trying to think of anyone that so like they just changed this year, but the Newport grass court tournament that they used to always have, right
Mm,
after Wimbledon, they changed that to a challenger tournament this year. But it's like
got
that
demoted.
level. Yeah, I got demoted, which is kind of sad, but at the same time, like it's cool that they have a grass court challenger tournament. They don't have a lot of them. So um, but yeah, so like that's the next level below, and then you go below that, and then it's the ITF tour. So like the
Okay,
ITF basically it governs the men's and women's game, and then Davis Cup, Fed Cup, and then all the Grand Slams. So it's just another stupid governing body. And
sure.
so for me, I'm competing on the ITF tour. Like that's my main goal. I play a bunch of those. Um I was playing a lot of those tournaments, like to get a world ranking, and then I'll also play these UTR PTT tournaments, which UTR has their own pro circuit. There's no points that are involved.
Hmm.
I guess this year they actually have a point system, but like essentially it's just another way to get compensated for playing tennis. It's a different
Hmm.
format. It's like a group stage versus like knockout, and I've been supplementing my schedule with these PTTs because of more match play. The level itself is like, you got to be able to win at this level to, play at a super high level in the ITF. So it's just, and also like they're good events too. Like you go different places. Like I played in Portugal, played in Bulgaria, played in the UK. So been kind of all over the place playing these, and they're just a good things to add into your schedule.
And I feel like that's the most valuable experience right there is what you're talking about, and is the travel, the people you meet, and maybe you don't realize necessarily it in the moment, but like I just Eric Budarak, he has a TED talk where he's talking about him eating ketchup and pasta on a park bench or a club, a country club, a private club bench,
Yeah.
sleeping overnight. It's just kind of like that part of it. Um, and maybe this is overstepping, but like how much in those so the PPT, my assumption for those tournaments or the UTR, so if there's less of a point, because obviously it's important to get points, because then you can get into bigger
Mhm.
tournaments and then make more prize money, and then that'll
Mhm.
get you into more bigger tournaments, which will make you more prize money. That's kind of like the ladder. But UTR, if there's no want to get points, you have to incentivize the athletes with money. So like, is that like a couple thousand, like, or is that like it could be like 10, 15K? Like what kind of money is that?
Yeah. So the UTR is like pumping money into it. They're really promoting these things. So like for my case, like you play the group stages in these tournaments, and like, every win, like so no matter what, you're guaranteed money. Like you're guaranteed like $400, $300, $400 depending on the event. But then every win, you go up a bracket of like how much you can make. So like
Mm,
if you win these events, you're making $3,600, which from a professional tennis player is like $1 million. Like
yeah.
that's a ton of money. And the thing is, like, you can like that's where UTR is like putting a lot of money into this and incentivize players to play this. And then this year they came out with a points race where they're doing like the top 100 guys who finish with the points. Like, you get a little like bonus payout. Like they're doing like these little incentives throughout the year that kind of like, get guys back to playing more of these. And so like, if you finish like for first place, if you finish number one in the world in PTT points,
Hmm.
you earn another 10K, like, which is fantastic. That means you got to do really well and play a lot of these, but um, yeah, no, you can make some like serious cash. So they're just like, incentivizing guys like around my level, like where it's like, you can play futures, you can win a little bit, or like even the guys who are like, go like quarter semis, can win futures, but they're not making money. And it's like, hey, like
Hmm.
come back to this, win these, now go play again and kind of do
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking about it. It's not like it's not either or. It's not like live PGA. It's like, hey, I'm gonna
Yeah.
dip into this so I can do this, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of cool that it works like that. What's the best result that you've had in either the ITF or the UTR?
Yeah. So the ITFs, made like final round of qualifying. That's right now the best thing that I've done in singles.
That's really good.
I- yeah, okay, thank you.
You got to win what,
yeah,
three
for
rounds, 4 rounds to get there?
yeah, I've what is it? Like I've won sometimes it's 2 rounds, sometimes it's one, sometimes it's three. Like it just depends. Like um so yeah, I've had to win a couple matches in order to get there. And I've done that a few times now. It's to be honest, like I guess it's maybe like, high expectations of myself. And I'm like, oh, I should have already done that, won a few ATP points by now. But at the same time, like, um, no, made a few final rounds, beating some decent players along the way. Happy about that. Doubles wise, won a few matches in main draw, so like made quarterfinals of these tournaments. And then the PTTs, I don't do well in them. But honestly, I win a couple matches. So like I finished like middle of the group, and then they do like the middle of the group, and there's like a knockout stage from there, and it doesn't always go that great. But it's honestly like again, like I think a lot of it is it's from what I've seen, it's making slow improvements. Again, kind of like what we're talking about, where the D3, the D1 jump is like consistency. It's the same thing.
Hmm.
D1, the pro is consistency of like you're gonna have dips in the game and you gotta learn how to like balance it out. And then again,
Hmm.
every level you go up, it's like, you know, minimizing how much you can dip down. That's the one of the biggest keys. So yeah,
Are
it's been good.
are you able to like sustain your tennis because like obviously you have to buy a plane ticket every single
Yeah.
tournament, like are you able to do that, or do you have to like, hey, I'm gonna go work a little bit, and then come back, work a little bit, how is that balance for I guess money management?
Yeah, no, it's so expensive. But I mean like It again, you're playing these tournaments and you're not making money back. Like again, everything's an expense. So really it can kind of be viewed as like a holiday where you're just kind of going and spending money, but you're playing tennis and like trying to do like something at a high level. It's your job, but it's a holiday. But the
Mhm.
way like I'm able to like I'm supplementing it, like I'm making money is like from coach. So I come back to Nashville, it's my home base. I'm coach here. That helps me like, be able to like have something come in. Um, Also like working with people for like sponsorship opportunities. That's been like that's something like with this year, like kind of going into my second year of doing this, like I'm really starting to have to, look at this like, you know, having more money, like just to be able to go do this the right way. Um, yeah, and then prize money as well. I mean, whatever you make from prize money just goes right back into the pool. So, yeah, just stuff like that in order to be able to afford going to different countries and such, and just playing, honestly.
Yeah, that's so cool. And do you have any particular memories now that you've been on tour, traveling, uh, that stick out to you right now? Any highlights?
Yeah, there's been a lot actually. Like, oof. Okay, so I don't know if it's like this day and age, like and there are some guys doing this, but I feel like a lot more players are like living like kind of a bougie lifestyle when they go do this. Like, they're not there, Budarak, like on a park bench or like, eating like really like crazy meals like to save money. Um, but you still hear of it. Like I know a guy who is out in Portugal for the last like 2 months living out of a van. Like he just has a van to live out of, and that's what he's been doing for the last 2.5 months, 3 months, to play tournaments. For me, uh, it's a lot of just it's literally hopping from Airbnb to Airbnb. Or like, you're just kind of like scraping by with like, like hopefully I have a friend that's in this city or like something like that. Or I have a few guys I can stay with, like, like what like in the last Airbnb we stayed at. I mean, it's not that crazy, but like, we got guys sleeping on the couch, like, you're making things do like you're making things work. Again, it's not like, oh, this is so tough. Like, how could anyone do this? No, but at the same time, you're having to be creative with every dollar. And like, otherwise, like, also, like, you got to be smart about performance. Like, if I am sleeping on the ground for a week straight, like I don't think I'm gonna play my best tennis. So it's stuff like that. But no, the thing that I've really enjoyed so far is just the people you meet, like while you're on the road. Like it's just like little things that happen on the tournament, like just kind of like, it's humorous. Like I don't know, I've really enjoyed it, seeing different people, seeing different cultures, and just so much has like gone on in the last like 12 months. It's been great.
Are there any particular like characters like where you're like, yo, like this dude, Australian dude's always at these tournaments, or
Yeah.
anyone, maybe any friends that you've made from particular different countries that you stay in touch with, or even United States maybe that you've maybe traveled with or anything like that? Any buddies?
Yeah, no, I have a ton of friends that I travel with. Yeah, no,
Sure.
I have like a Moroccan friend that like a guy from Morocco and that I'm like really good friends with. He's hilarious. Like he's just I mean just a guy full of energy, just go, go, go all the time. And like, you find him doing just wild things. Like also there's another guy in like Tunisia he's Libyan, most insane guy I've ever seen on the court in my life. Like he's like, if you ever want to talk about cheating, you should see this guy. This guy it's actually impressive. Like it's a skill. Like honestly, I don't even want to rip, like it's not even a rip. He's just unbelievable and like how the hook and stuff, like he changes score and stuff like that. And then off the court, like he's a great guy. I love him. Like he's so funny. I don't know, like I was staying in Tunisia with like an Aussie, an American, a Scottish guy was with us. Like it's just like again, you're so many different cultures, and it's like you're with around like boys. Like sometimes like maturity level they're low, but it's hilarious. Like what ends up happening. I don't want to say too much because
Yeah.
like it could bite me in the butt. But yeah, no, it's hilarious what goes on. Because you've been on a college team, and you just know what boys do. You played sports. You just get like when boys are around, like it doesn't matter how old they are, dude. We do so much dumb shit.
And I mean that's kind of refreshing to hear that though, that there's like a decent, fun culture if you want to, on tour where you can have, some social, some social interaction. And I feel like sometimes like when I picture tour, it's like this lonely thing, like you go from tournament to tournament, just like grinding away. But like there is, a potential outlet for, talking and building relationships with other people who are going through, the same exact type of thing. They're grinding, they're trying to make money, they're working their way up, um, which is relatable, which I'm sure that's why you're bonding with them. So is that what you're doing right now currently, and is that what you're planning on doing for the foreseeable future? Kind of what's your plan?
Yeah, no, so for the foreseeable future, so through the rest of 2025, my plan is to play pro. Travel around, play a lot in the US, but then also go back out to Europe one more time, to go play tournaments this year. I was just one of my goals, like really for the next 8 months, 7 months. One thing I like realized on my last stint, I did like 10 weeks in Europe. Um, and just being around it for so long, I'm like, yes, I'm working hard, but I'm not doing it the right way. Kind of like what you just said with like, the tour seems so lonely. It's funny, the higher you go, the lonelier it becomes. Because like again, at my level right now, like there's so many like people kind of want to help each other out and everyone's like friends, but as soon as you like start to go up, people start to go into their own bubbles. And that's kind of what you have to do in
Hmm.
order to be successful because you have to become so like self-obsessive.
Hmm.
Um, and so like that's something like I'm starting to look at with like just how I travel and like, what events I'm playing and like what's gonna really, optimize my performance. So for the next like 7 months, really like change some things how they're done, when it comes to like travel or like just training wise and just really be strict with my life. See how it goes, like from is this an enjoyable or is this like something I can see myself continue to go depending doesn't result doesn't matter. Um, or is it like, hey, like I'm just giving up way too much to try to be 500 in the world. So and make no money. So like that's where for the next like 6, 7 months, like this is where my head's at and that's what I'm gonna go after.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool though that you're willing to like pursue it and you're doing it, current day. When do you go back? Like, are you in the States right now? When do you go back?
Yeah, so I got back to the States like a week ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually got hurt in my last tournament, so I'm like kind of
Mm,
in like a little bit of a rehab stage right now. I'm starting to hit again. But right now I'm about like 75%, 80% of what I can like move. I like pulled it was like my lower ab I pulled, but then I also like it's like a whole list of issues in my right leg. And so like I'm like recovering from it. And so I'll start playing again like mid-May, so in about a couple weeks from now, or like a week or two from now. So yeah, so I'm like trying to get back to 100% here, to
mm.
get back on the road and play in the US, and yeah, I'm excited, honestly. Really looking forward to it.
And to kind of finish off here, do you have any specific shout outs or anything that you want to give, maybe to some friends or into the world? Is there any shout outs that you have?
Yeah, I'll go back to the Minnesota roots, Petro for connecting you with me. Like I know we know each other, but also at the same time I was like, oh, like yeah, I would definitely do this. I just didn't know where it came from. My boy Nikita Schnetzko, who everyone just adores and loves, what a personality that guy is. Uh Toby Boyer, you know, great, great Minnesota guy. Dylan Sperry. I don't know if you probably knew Dylan a little bit from
Yeah.
college. Charlie Adkins, good friend. Yeah, just, go back to I'm trying to think if anyone from Minnesota that I still like really close with. Yeah, no, I'll give it back, fam, throughout the fam. Uh, but yeah, that's good shout outs there.
Yeah. And yeah, my shout out is you for coming on and spending your time doing this. We're coming up in an hour and a half, so you really I don't even, like, normally I'm like, hey, like we're gonna go from like 30 to 60 minutes. And I was looking back in my messages with you. I did not say that. So
Yeah.
you might have been in for a complete surprise, but thank you so much for spending your time doing this. And it was, good hearing. It's I don't know, it's super interesting hearing kind of like what you've been doing and coming from Minnesota. I just think it's super cool. So thanks for coming on, Jake.
No, I appreciate you reaching out to me. Sorry, I know I talk a lot, so that's why it's an hour and a half.
No, no, I loved it. This is super entertaining and everyone's gonna love it. So yeah.
No, no. I'm trying to think of any other shout outs. Just shout out to my team at New Mexico. Shout out to the Ham boys, Levi Duenhager. I know he wants to hear that one. Chris Bale. Um, there's a lot of people to say hi to, but yeah. No, I again appreciate you having me on. I'm glad we got this all figured out.
Do up diddling